This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Shahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellow Wall podcast.
Episode 526 of the Yellow Wall Pod. I'm your host, Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about a dramatic 3-all draw against Eintracht Frankfurt, and not so dramatic 3-0 win against Werder Bremen, and we will preview Saturday's game against St. Pauli. For all that and more, I'm joined by Lars Pollmann. Hello, Lars. I hope St. Pauli is actually on Saturday because I did not look it up. How are you doing?
Yes, it is on Saturday, and I'm doing fine. How are you, Stefan?
I'm doing very well myself. Thank you very much. Let's dive right in. Let's start with in chronological order with the Frankfurt game. I know we don't have a lot of time, but still, there are a few talking points coming out of this game. I think first and foremost is that Dortmund managed to get a lead twice, then entirely bungle it, and then save themselves at the very end. That sort of more or less describes the game. But Lars, I guess my takeaways before I ask about yours is that I thought at least over the 90 minutes, I thought Dortmund managed to actually have some solid attacking play. Obviously, 8 million crosses. But, you know, I liked the dominance in the second half until Dortmund finally scored. What I did obviously not like so much is that they then right after conceded again. But still, I thought at least in the attacking department in terms of chance creation and, playing some nice vertical passes through the channels, be it on the left side or a right side. And of course, we can talk about the first goal, which was once again a very nice diagonal pass by Schlotterbeck to Riasson, who then found Bayer with a cross. Overall, at least for this game, I was relatively pleased with the way Dortmund managed to, control the game for most parts against a team that's fairly good, and of course create chances. Now we all know that Eintracht Frankfurt have conceded a lot of goals. I think by now, if my math doesn't let me down, they have conceded 36 because before Dortmund played them, the goal differential for them was 0 because they had scored 30 and conceded 30. So now that they've conceded 6 more, I assume it's at 36. So what are your thoughts on this game? Were you surprised by any wrinkles in the lineup that you expected differently coming out of the midi-winter break?
I mean, were there any wrinkles? Felt like a fairly box-standard Borussia Dortmund starting 11 this season, which is to be expected because there are no real surprises in terms of personnel available. I think I would pretty much echo what you said, maybe without the bungling part, because it wasn't really like Dortmund threw away, anything in Frankfurt. I think they had the golden scoring opportunity with Schlotterbeck's header that clanged off the crossbar a minute or so before regular time ended, and then Moderhut scored with his weaker foot, I think with help from the inside of the post as well. And I would agree that over the 90 minutes, Dortmund were the better side, not by much, but by enough to maybe snatch a victory there. But then obviously when you go down in the, whatever it was, 92nd, 93rd, to not come away with the defeat is still decent enough.
We pulled a reverse Stuttgart, basically.
Something like that, yeah. Obviously the 3-all draw, 3-all goal from Chukwuemeka was kind of, chaotic. It wasn't like necessarily a huge scoring opportunity, more so a bit of, lack of focus in Frankfurt's defense, which, as you alluded to, has not been, a rare occurrence this season. So, I don't know. A draw away to a decent side like Frankfurt, who are in the Champions League this season and who are getting glazed every transfer window for how great their business is. I can live with that, even though on balance of the 90 minutes, I think Dortmund probably should have won that game. But then if we want to talk about balance of however many minutes when we're coming to the Bremen game, after 45 minutes in that game, they definitely shouldn't have been winning that by, a 3-goal scoring difference. So I guess those things sort of cancel each other out. I think for those two performances, 4 points is pretty much what Dortmund deserved.
Yeah, I mean, overall positive, just if you look at the table, is to keep a team like Frankfurt at bay, because the race for the Champions League spots can still heat up. You never know what's happening. So I think losing in Frankfurt would have been not very productive in that regard. So from that point of view, I'm very happy with the win. Obviously, you can criticize the way Dortmund conceded the goals. I mean, the Guirassy penalty, almost a little bit unlucky. He's obviously going for the ball, hits the defender's legs or the attacker's legs rather, since he was the defender, and was a little bit of a flop too, honestly. But it's a penalty you can give. I wasn't really complaining about it. It was just a little bit vexed that it happened in such a silly circumstance. I think the second goal that Yunus Ibn Talib scored. Probably the more annoying one because, for starters, the whole sequence was just so poorly defended. Who was the guy who played the assist? I forgot his name already. Yeah. I think there was even like a debate whether he should have been sent off before.
No, he definitely shouldn't have. That was not a red card offense.
Well, I've seen people discuss it. Anyway.
People can be wrong, Stefan.
Yes, that is correct. That's the only reason why the Yellow Wall Pod exists. If we had to be correct the entire time, this show would not would cease to exist very quickly. Anyway, so he managed to pull Schlotterbeck out and sell him. I don't know if it was even a dummy, but just turn around him, and neither Süle nor Anton really managed to get a hold of the run of Ibn Talib, and thus there was a one-on-one with the keeper. We can talk about a minute what Niko Kovac said about these situations in the post-game conference against the Bremen game, because there was another of those situations, even though I think one of those was offside. But anyway, to me that was just more annoying because that was just a structural tactical error. The other two things, I don't know. I mean, Riosen and Can did not cover themselves in glory for the goal that Dahoud scored, be it Can not really, or just, losing the dribble, if you will, in the box, just getting dribbled past easily, but then also just the clearance was a bit of a slapstick, but, these things happen. And as you said, Dahoud hitting that with the with his wrong foot, so to speak, and inside of the post. Bit of a lucky shot as well. But I think in the end we will all take the point, even, Dortmund had a lot of possession and so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm happy to move on if you are.
Affirmative.
Well, then just do that, Lars. I thought maybe we'll approach the Bremen game this way. I thought it was very interesting, after Dortmund had all 3 points in the back. Now they have 36 points after the Hinrunde, which of course is the second best in the decade. I think only in 2018-19 they were better with 42 points. But it is juxtaposed by halftime whistles, and not the positive ones. Despite Dortmund being 1-0 up at the break, I think it's a nice window in sort of the expectation of what people want to see on the football field versus the naked results. I've seen people make comparisons to Schalke's run when they finished second in the league under Tedesco and then collapsed entirely. I'm not entirely sure if I would go that far. But nevertheless, I think there is a little bit truth to the fact that the style points, I guess, aren't graded as highly as the actual points. Last, but it was a very lethargic first half. Dortmund did obviously score with the Schlotterbeck header from like 3 yards out or something, and then there you could already hear a couple of whistles within the first half when, for example, Chukwuemeka stepped a little bit on the ball when there was like a transition moment, and it just overall felt to me like Dortmund lacked a little bit of drive in this game to really go for the kill shot and pile on. Eventually, of course, they did toward the end of the game, but it took them probably longer than anyone had hoped for. What are your thoughts on this game and sort of how it unfolded in the first half, especially as you just alluded to with Werder Bremen also getting a couple of really good looks?
Did I? I think you alluded to that.
All right.
First of all, the booing or whistling at halftime, I wouldn't read too much into that because whenever we talk about this stuff, it's like the entirety of the yellow wall booed them down to the dressing room or whatever. But that clearly didn't happen.
No, it was just sections of the stadium.
Sections of the stadium, and I'm not even sure which ones. I wouldn't be surprised if
probably east and west, something like that.
That's what I was going at. I wouldn't be surprised if it was mostly seating area, because these people seem to come with the expectation of being entertained more so than, just being happy to support their favorite club or whatever. No offense to them, but obviously the most important fans are in the standing areas. I would actually not agree with the wording that you used in terms of a lethargic performance from Dortmund. I would say it was just a terrible performance. My issues weren't really with lack of pace or lack of movement or whatever, but just the sheer number of avoidable simple mistakes they made in possession. I mean, Chukwuemeka gave the ball away 3 or 4 times. He should have been hooked at halftime, in my opinion, even though Niko Kovac doesn't like to do that. Felix Metscher had, I think, a pretty bad giveaway very early on. I think one of the problems is probably that, they didn't really take Werder Bremen seriously, and why should they? Because, my God, if you watch that game, it's clear to see why Werder Bremen don't have one striker's goal, as in, their recognized number 9 central forwards. I think their striker goals come from Jinma and Marco Gröll, who both aren't really playing in that classic number 9 role. And they let him off the hook a couple of times. I agree with you that the one big chance by Njimma, I think he leant into an offside position because the lower half of his body was probably still inside his own half, but he leant into it. Would have been offside if he had scored, and VAR would have reviewed it, obviously. But there was also the chance where Njimma kind of made the wrong decision when he could have released, was it Stay on the left, who was completely open, and he took on the shot himself. Was blocked, I think, twice. So, I mean, it's given the level of performance Dortmund put on in the first half, it's not inconceivable that they could have been down. So, being up, definitely lucky, especially considering how they scored. An open header 3 yards from the goalkeeper when you're just whipping in a normal corner, that shouldn't be, happening. But I guess there are reasons for why Werder Bremen are where they are on the table and why Borussia Dortmund are where they are. And to their credit, I think the second half was much better. I actually think it was, once again, very funny for me to see how many people were moaning about Emre Can coming on for Niklas Süle, who was on a booking, a well-deserved one. That was one of the more, I guess, robust fouls I've seen from a Dortmund player this season. And then, in my opinion, Emre Can was the best player on the pitch in the second half. So that's how these things tend to go sometimes, because I have absolutely no issue whatsoever with Emre Can, the center half. But that's, I guess, a debate for another time, given that he's probably going to sign a contract extension reasonably soon. And yeah, they kind of turned off the mistakes, as it were. Didn't really allow those free runs for Bremen anymore. I don't remember one actually dangerous situation, not even scoring opportunity, but like a situation where a scoring opportunity could have come from for Bremen, and then it was kind of just a question where they scored a second before maybe a KG final 10 or so minutes, and then obviously Sabitzer with a well-placed shot kind of ended the game, and then obviously the third goal for Guirassy, a nice assist by Amos Pieper, former Dortmund guy. Nice pressing obviously from Job Bellingham, and nice to see Guirassy get on the score sheet. I think the more important thing was probably how Fabio Silva celebrated with him, or they two celebrated together, because obviously we are kind of constructing this rivalry in the media between, the starting striker and the one who's probably a better player as of right now, just in terms of how his form is. And so it was nice to see them work together when Silva moved out to that left half space position, however you want to call it, and then especially the celebration was, I think, a nice reminder that these are teammates and not only rivals.
Yeah, I think in general, since I often criticize Kovac for his substitutions or don't quite always understand why he's making them, I actually thought that him bringing Guirassy on for Maxi Bayer, so Guirassy and Silva could form sort of a strikers tandem, was a very savvy move and probably what I would have opted for too. So that to me was a very good move. One talking point I had a little bit I wanted to discuss is just Kani Chukwuemeka, since you had alluded to it. He probably should have been hooked at halftime. He obviously scored the equalizer against Frankfurt, but he has cost a pretty penny, and so far, obviously we need to give everyone grace and time, but he is showing very little versus my personal expectations. I don't know how you feel about him, but so far the excitometer, my personal one is more in the disappointment degree than the excitement degree. Is that a cause for concern right now that he is not really producing much? We had this little thing pop up where I think he said that his preferred position would be more number 8 than a number 10.
He didn't say that,
and so on and so forth.
It was a report by Sportbild. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not inaccurate per se, but he didn't say it because it would not be smart.
Well, it wasn't a direct quote then. That was more on background then, I guess, or wherever this report.
Yeah, I mean, it's in terms of just pure content, in terms of the message behind it. I actually agree with it, because I don't think Chukwuemeka is being used in his ideal position, because I don't know necessarily that position exists at Dortmund at this point in time. I mean, when they signed him on loan from Chelsea last season, I talked to a few people who know him better from especially his days in the English under whatever system, and they all kind of said he's maybe a somewhat more attacking version of Paul Pogba, obviously not necessarily as good as the former world transfer record holder, but just in terms of his profile. So definitely not someone who just by design is best served to play as a left winger almost, which he has to do sometimes at Dortmund. And given that, and also that he's probably still not at 100% physical capacity after only working for the last few months, because while he was on loan, he was in and out of the lineup with a nagging knee injury. So I think there's more to come from him in that regard. I don't actually know that or that the returns have been so bad, because he scored in Hamburg, if memory serves. He scored 1 goal in the Champions League, might have been against Villarreal, and now he saved Dortmund's bacon in Frankfurt. Given that he's a part-time player, those 3 goals, I mean, Dortmund's leading scorer is Guirassy with 6. So it's not a crazy return for a central midfielder who's probably being played out of position a little bit. I'm still excited by what he can do on the ball. I think if his body allows it, he can be a very dynamic player because he's got the body for it and the long strides and enough pace. So I'm still reasonably excited about his long-term future at Dortmund, provided is more in a position natural to his abilities, which I think eventually will come.
Yeah. I personally, I'm always a little annoyed with myself when I like judge players when I know they're like not in rhythm. It's not like he had, back-to-back starts for like 10, 15 games in a row or something like that. It's just, it's just a thought that I wanted to discuss. But I don't know if we'll see him in the starting lineup again against St. Pauli. Probably not. But I did appreciate that Kovac was trying things and moving things around, and I don't mind the rotation necessarily, since I think Dortmund in total play like 7 games in January alone. So rotation is definitely a factor that we will see. It was funny. I was wondering once Dortmund went 3-0 up if they were going to throw in Filippo Mane for a couple minutes for maybe a Waldemar Anton or so, but no, they did bring on Karim Adeyemi. I think they also moved all their substitution slots overall in this game. I also was okay with Riasson playing on the left and Jan Kraut on the right to give Daniel Svensson a little bit of a breather. So
I mean, if you need a breather in the second game after a winter break, that would be strange to me. I think they just wanted to bring Couto on, and Riasson did well against Frankfurt, so just do that.
Well, I mean, you can still lower his load.
Yeah, but didn't he play like 30 games without a break during the first half of the season? So I don't think that was necessarily something they had on their minds with that decision. I think Couto has done really well, progressed well, and it's a home game where they expect a lot of possession, which, funnily enough, I think Werder Bremen outpossessed them in Dortmund, which doesn't happen very often for a team that's probably fighting relegation at the end of the season, but obviously the game set kind of played a part in that.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, 54% possession for Werder Bremen. Meanwhile, in Frankfurt, Dortmund had over 60% of possession. Just funny how these things work sometimes. But I mean, like you said, the Sabitzer goal very well crafted, and Joe Bellingham having a little nice pressing moment to put really one on the platter for Guirassy. And the next games coming up are obviously St. Pauli and Tottenham. Since Matthias is not here due to work reasons, we'll hope to preview the Tottenham game with him, since he is a Tottenham sufferer. So we'll try to get this out before the Tottenham game. But in the meantime, St. Pauli obviously just lost to VfL Wolfsburg, who in return did lose 8-1 to Bayern Munich on the first game of 2026. So that happened. What can Dortmund expect in an opponent? I mean, it is back-to-back home games. The expectation must be that this is a must-win for the Black and Yellows. But I low-key think St. Pauli can play a decent ball if you let them. So I'd rather not, especially after the 3-3 draw in the first game of the season. What's sort of your outlook on that game?
I think we probably saw a bit of St. Pauli at the same time, because whenever I've seen in the season, outside even of the Dortmund game, I've been fairly impressed with like the organization under head coach Alexander Blessin. I even went so far as to say at the start of the season that they are probably one really good attacking player away from challenging for Europe. Obviously now, with them second to last and only on 12 points after the first half of the season, that kind of feels dumb, but they had a really good start to the season. I think they obviously drew against Dortmund, then they won the Hamburg derby at HSV, and I seem to recall they also won, that first game after the September international break, so they were really up there, and then obviously had a terrible run of results. I think they lost like 9 or 10 games in a row. But I still think that's a pretty decent team. I think they will probably be fine from relegation. Maybe they need to get 1 or 2 players in the transfer window now just to show up some things. But I think it would be easy to overlook them just looking at the league standings or whatever. But again, it's a fairly well-organized team. Last season, they had the second best defensive record in the Bundesliga, behind only FC Bayern, if memory serves. And obviously, we remember the first match day of the season where they gave Dortmund trouble even before, Philipp Omane received the red card, and things went to shit, as it were. So, given it's a home game, and given Dortmund's strong run of form this season, especially against, those kinds of opponents at home, you would assume it's going to be a win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a more, dogged game than perhaps you would think when second meets second to last.
Yeah, these things can easily become trap games. I've watched St. Pauli's 2-1 cup win against Borussia Mönchengladbach in full, and that really impressed me, the way they play, the positional play, the passing that they had. They thoroughly outplayed Borussia Mönchengladbach. Now, granted, they also not long after that, or not long before that, were blown out by Gladbach 4-0.
Yeah, but also, didn't they play Bayern before the cup tie and only lost because they conceded twice in extra time, or added time rather? So
yes,
and that was
correct.
in Munich.
They conceded. Yes.
So that's just to show what we were trying to say, I guess, that their record isn't all that impressive, but they definitely have it in them to be a problem for much better sides on paper.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, on my personal short list of Kovac successes, Alexander Blessin is certainly on there as well. So those are sort of my 2 cents. I don't know if I have any great lineup predictions for this game. I don't know. Would you start a Guirassy Silva tandem this time and sort of start a little bit like Dortmund close to Bremen game out, or what are your thoughts? Do you have any I don't know any ideas you would personally like to see on the pitch against St. Pauli, or are you just indifferent at this point?
I mean, we don't know necessarily about availability because the press conference is after our recording, but I think unless there are any surprises in terms of personnel available, there's going to be normal end of the first Englische Woche rotation before another Englische Woche, so you can assume that Joe Bellingham, for example, is going to start. Maybe Karim Adeyemi, who hasn't really played all that much in the last few games, even going back to before the winter break. I think it would be interesting to see the Guirassy Silva pairing again, because we've only had that like 3 times this season so far, and I think Silva definitely adds an element that's very helpful for them, that mobility, the technical ability, but I just don't know if he's that much of a goal scorer, so I probably like him better playing off Guirassy than being the central forward himself, so why not try that against what can be a stingy defense despite their somewhat poor record this season. So that's actually a good idea.
All right. Thank you. I'll pass that note on. Yeah. Are there any other things you want to discuss? I mean, there are certainly some talking points I have overlooked.
No.
All right. In that case, thank you very much, Lars. Everyone out there, thank you for listening, and we'll be back with another episode somewhere between the St. Pauli and the Tottenham game with Matthias. Until then, have a nice weekend, and BVB. Goodbye.